everyone, and welcome to the Excellent Conversations, sponsored by Excellent Nutrition and Fitness, disrupting the cycle of chronic stress through food, mood, and movement. I'm your host, Heather Lynn Darby. The title of today's segment is Drinking Less, How to Shift Your Mindset to Navigate Social Situations when Not Conforming to the Norms of a Drinking Culture. Today, I'm talking about taking a break from alcohol with expert Tom Cartwright of Cartwright Coaching, where he's helping social drinkers reset their relationship with alcohol. Check out www.cartwrightcoaching.com and his Facebook community, Drink Less, Feel Fresh, for more. We'll be discussing all about the critical skills every social drinker needs to be successful with drinking less and still have a good time, new developments in the area of taking a break from alcohol and exploring how to navigate cutting back on drinking while still relieving stress, as well as the strategies and secret every social drinker needs to navigate their way when taking a break from alcohol. Tom Cartwright is a hands-on expert on the subject of drinking less within a drinking culture and has graciously agreed to this interview to share extensive knowledge and experience so every social drinker can understand how to shift the mind and nervous system when not conforming to those social norms of sharing a drink. Welcome, Tom. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for the introduction. It's so good to be here with you, Heather.
Awesome. Let's get started so you can share your latest ideas about reducing or taking a break from alcohol. My first set of questions is about your background and experience in the field, so the social drinkers in our audience can get to know who you are, where you're coming from, and how you can relate to where they are right now. Then we'll talk about reasons social drinkers might be interested in taking a break from alcohol in the first place. Then onto your latest ideas and thoughts about drinking less, so our audience can understand how they can apply what you've learned to their situations in today's world. Finally, we'll jump into the cool stuff with tips, tricks, and secrets about taking a break from alcohol, so we can all get the real inside scoop. So could you tell us a little bit about yourself in terms of background, education, experience in this field?
Yeah, of course. 5 years ago, I think the journey started for me. When I mean journey, the journey to figure out how to drink less, how to remove problems and addictions like alcohol from your life, to develop relationships, career moves, businesses, save more financially, and those areas of life that we might want to excel in. To be really honest with the audience, I hope it's okay to be pretty raw, honest, and vulnerable today. Is that all right?
For sure.
All right, great. That's kind of like how I like to rock and roll anyway. Look, I grew up in, I'm in Sydney, Australia at the moment, and we grew up in what's called the Australian drinking culture. So by the time you turn 16, 17, 18, there's a bit of hype about, finally becoming of age to be able to legally drink. And it's almost like an exciting thing to do. Yet for someone like myself who wasn't too sure what he wanted to do with himself and where he fit in the world and, was he going to succeed in business and things like that, I very quickly fell into that Australian drinking culture, and before I knew it, to experience either entertainment or relationship connections, I only knew how to do that through alcohol. So from the age of 18 to 23, I became quite reliant on alcohol, drank most nights of the week. If I was ever out, I had to have a drink. It was very foreign. In fact, I can't really remember a time ever being in a social situation and not feeling that need to have a few drinks. I realized by the age of about 23 that I wanted to do things that I wasn't doing. I wanted to potentially start my business. I wanted to go all in on intimate partner relationships. I wanted to be healthy and happy and physically fit and feeling great. And I just didn't really seem to be experiencing those things. So I asked myself what was holding me back, and it was very quick. The answer came to me, which was alcohol was one of the biggest contributing factors why I wasn't where I wanted to be. And that's when I started this journey of figuring out how to solve the problem. And I took on a coach and a couple of mentors to help me solve the issue, the drinking, and learn to drink less. And it took me about, to be honest, a year, nearly a year and a half to actually come to a decision of, experiencing 5 months of sobriety. So I think it was about 2015, halfway through the year, I was determined and committed to do a 5-month sobriety stint. And I believe that if I could do 5 months of sobriety, alcohol would never be a problem for me anymore. Whether I wanted to go back to being an occasional drinker or whether I didn't want to drink ever again, I just knew it wouldn't be a problem. And from the day that I solved that problem, I've been studying human behavior, personal development, For the last nearly 5 years now, I've set up a successful coaching practice where I specialize working with individuals to lower their intake and overcome other addictions as well. But most importantly, I'm really passionate about helping 500,000 individuals lower their alcohol intake and develop a relationship with alcohol that they absolutely love.
I love that mission, and I really like the idea of an occasional drinker. Clearly, you're the right expert for us when it comes to taking a break from alcohol.
I'd like to think so.
So the reason why I reached out to you for this conversation is I'm currently doing my third Sober-tober, sober for October. And I understand there's other months that are popular for this, dry in July. And when I was thinking about that, I'm wondering if that involves kind of going into the shortening of the days and like there's a lot less light and maybe we're a little bit more stressed by that, and having alcohol, resetting your relationship with alcohol might ease that stress of those long winter, or for us it's winter, but for you, I mean, those short days. Yeah. So that's kind of where I came in, as I'm resetting before the holidays. But why would someone in general consider cutting back if they didn't have an addiction?
All right. So to answer that question, if I can, I'll give you a really beneficial definition of addiction for me that works, I believe, in the 21st century very well, which is addiction. Back in the day, whenever that was, back in the day, it was often seen as, addiction means someone that can't live or survive without a substance. And it's usually referred to, cocaine, drugs, alcohol, pornography, shopping, those kind of things. Whereas I don't think that works too well these days, because it allows us to justify our behaviors. So if we're a social drinker and, we tell ourselves we want to have 3 drinks, but we end up having 6 or 7 every night, well, we can end up saying, well, that's not really a big problem because that person over there, they're the one with the real addiction. So I believe you just want to ask yourself, if you're watching this video or reading this at all, you just want to ask yourself, am I living the life I want in regards to health and fitness, finances, intimate partner relationships, and career progression to start with? And if the answer is yes, then rock on and just keep doing everything that you're doing, if that's a true answer. But more often than not, it's beautiful to see honesty, and we can answer with, well, no, I'm not really where I want to be. Maybe I have some drama in my relationships if I'm drinking or I'm social drinking too much, or maybe it's affecting my finances and I do want to save up for an amazing holiday. So we just ask ourselves these questions, and then we can say, well, what's one or more behavioral patterns that might be preventing my life from being the way I want it to be? And look, if alcohol is in your top 2 or 3 reasons, then you can make a conscious decision, well, I'm going to reduce my intake. And if for any reason you can't seem to reduce your intake, then it's okay just to say to yourself, well, maybe I am a bit needy, if that serves you a bit better. Or to be really honest, maybe I am a little bit addicted to alcohol. I think it's important, as I've spoken about, whether you drink 2.5 bottles of scotch a day or whether you drink 2 glasses of wine a day. I'm working with so many individuals literally on that range that want to experience the same things in life. So look, if you're not where you want to be and alcohol's in the way and you're consciously aware of that, that's all you need to know right now to give yourself permission to say yes to you and to start investing either time, money, energy, whatever it is. If you're watching this, then it's your time, which is fantastic, to figure out how to drink less.
Mm-hmm. So some benefits that I had heard associated with taking a break from alcohol were like better sleep, weight loss, like you mentioned, saving money. Is 1 month, as far as like a dry month, is that enough to really start beginning to see those benefits?
It could be a generalization here, but from the experience that I've had, my professional opinion, it's usually between around 7 to 10 weeks where we start to have profound emotional shifts. And the topic of conversation today is stress. So if we've grown up in a drinking culture or society where we alleviate stress apparently from drinking, we're actually not. We're just short-term suppressing the emotion and the feeling that are kicking stress in for us. So sadness, grief, despair, powerlessness, overwhelm, discomfort, and any of these emotions or feelings that we grew up in a world where it feels okay if we drink, then we're just suppressing those feelings, and therefore we end up with stress. So look, I think that to really make a shift, it is a little bit further than 1 month. I would say a minimum of 2 months, you really start to have profound emotional shifts. A month is fantastic as well. Like a week is fantastic for some people that are social drinkers. Having 2 days off without drinking on the weekend is fantastic. It's all about growth. But when we talk about how to alleviate stress and really see things like, weight loss and sleep improvement, yeah, I believe, in my professional opinion, it's anywhere from about 7 to 10 weeks.
That's fantastic to know. So a month might be enough to start to notice if you have like a neediness or you're accustomed to it in your routine more than you're comfortable with. It helps create awarenesses. And then if it was extended, you might start to see some of those longer term benefits.
That's exactly right. I kind of say it is in regards to a month. We can get through a month just from pushing through. That means it can get really painful and there's stress and we think, it's okay, I'll just go to the gym every day and I'm just going to get there, and it's 30 days and you get there and you think, I'm done. Whereas when you keep going, you break through that barrier of the pain and you come out the other side and you're 7 weeks in and it's all of a sudden, and you realize that not drinking was what your body always wanted from you to alleviate the stress.
That's profound. I love that. So what would be the first step social drinkers might want to take when they're exploring how to navigate cutting back?
First steps, commitment and making a decision. It really is. I run a sobriety challenge, and through all of the members in that challenge, 95% of the time when I ask them what was the hardest thing when it comes to starting, which is answering your question now, they say making the decision. Because so often reducing our alcohol intake can be very difficult, which we'll talk a little bit more about. But in the beginning, it's about making the decision to learn to drink less or experience a sobriety period, because we know deep down that if we truly commit to it, we will succeed. Once you've made the decision, the second biggest thing is accountability. I wasn't reading. One of my mentors about 3 months ago gave me a statistic. Bear with me, it won't be spot on, but it was along the lines of Harvard University did a study and showed that through accountability, your chances of success skyrocket by 50%. And so when I'm working with clients, accountability is key. If no one knows that you want to reduce your intake, that's okay if that's how you want to do it. But for the strategies that work, it's about having at least one person that knows the journey that you're on and that you're looking to drink less, that can help hold you accountable. The third thing, so one's making a decision, then finding an accountability buddy. To take it a little bit further, it'd be find a tribe or a community, whether that's 3 people or 3,000 that are on a similar journey to you. Because as we'll share a little bit further on in this interview, that the biggest factor or problem that comes up can be the fear of judgment or being ostracized from the tribe. So when we find a tribe that are moving us forward, then we have 2 tribes. We have the social drinking tribe that kind of want us to drink, and then we have another tribe that's kind of saying, you're doing really well with drinking less, and then we can make a bit of a decision on who we want to spend more time with.
Right. We are kind of a conglomeration of the people we spend the most time with, and we tend to take on those traits. So that's very well landed. So what kinds of roadblocks did you face, or did people in general face when they get started early on, and like what to do to overcome those roadblocks?
Okay. The first roadblock is usually really early on, is actually before even potentially asking for some help with it for someone. So it's that roadblock of feeling a bit shameful. It's almost like if we grow up as a social drinker and we always have loved social drinking and we've been someone who encourages others to socially drink, it can become hard to then go back on everything that we believe about alcohol and think, maybe I don't really want to drink that much. So, excuse me. So we can feel a bit shameful. That was the biggest probably block and roadblock that I had early on, because all of a sudden I started to feel less than my social tribe, which was my family and friends and things. I thought I was less than them. So the way I overcame that problem was by realizing maybe I don't have a problem. Maybe I'm not less than others. Maybe I actually want more from myself. And the minute you make the mindset shift that you don't have to have a big problem with alcohol, as I said, you can be drinking 1 glass a day of wine or 1 glass a week, and that might be too much for you. Maybe you don't have to look at it like it is a really big problem and people need to know about it or not know about it. Maybe you change your mindset and you realize you want more from yourself. And all of a sudden you're not less than the social drinking scene anymore. In fact, you might feel like you're a little bit above them because you think, wow, I do want more for myself. So that's the first challenge and mindset shift there. The second one is the fear of judgment. Now, the drinking culture, the drinking scene is very much what we call a tribal. It's got a very much tribal mentality. And when it comes to alcohol, it can become very dysfunctional and unresourceful, which is a little bit bitchy, blamey, justification orientated. And what happens is if we try to remove ourselves from that tribe, our subconscious will actually start to think, hang on, Heather or Tom, aren't I now going to be talked about? And that's why it can be really hard. So going into social scenes and events, weddings, birthdays, Christmas, New Year's Eve, things like this, and all of a sudden saying no to alcohol, we can really feel quite a high sense of judgment from people. And the way to overcome that sense of judgment is to constantly, you might want to write this down for anyone that's listening, is give yourself permission to be an individual. And what happens is when you give yourself permission to be an individual, you develop certainty every time you do that. And certainty is otherwise known as safety, comfort, security, but that certainty is coming from internally. Whereas a lot of people around you in the social scene will be getting their safety or comfort from alcohol itself, which is really unhealthy.
Right. And going into a situation where you're the only one that's doing something different in many cases, especially in like cultural events where, that's the normal thing to do. And if you do not participate, then other people look at you not only like they're judging you, but they're almost trying to prevent you from judging them, from protecting themselves from feeling judged for their whatever reason that they like to enjoy alcohol.
That's exactly right.
Associating that, I really like that because that kind of soothes the fight or flight reaction in our nervous system and, upregulates the parasympathetic rest and relax and feeling of safety, especially when you're in social situations, which you want to enjoy the camaraderie with other people. So it kind of resets that. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, that's exactly right. On something that you just mentioned there that I really like how you said it, it's that tribal cycle of the drinking scene. When I say they're very justification orientated, it's because we get stuck in a drinking scene where we kind of start to live in line with other people's insecurities. What that means is we might not want to drink, but we'll drink anyway because maybe it'll make them feel better. Or if someone's grieving and they're drinking, then maybe I should drink. Or if someone's celebrating a birthday or a baby or something and makes them feel good, then I'll drink. And it's all about I need to make others feel better. The most beneficial way to overcome this feeling of fear or being ostracized or judgment is to have a really clear plan and a really clear intention. When we have a really clear intention, we come across with a lot of certainty, and the person that was trying to give us certainty by telling us to drink will actually back off without even having to tell them. Because when we come from a position of power and authority, and as an example, instead of saying something like, oh, I'm not really drinking because I'm not really feeling like it, and saying something like, I'm actually doing 3 months of sobriety. I'm losing 3 kilos. I'm going to save, $1,500 and buy. And all of a sudden, we're passionate about it. The person that has the drink in their hands, thinking, "What am I doing?"
Right.
And you really take back that power position of certainty.
Yeah, and maybe give someone an idea that they never had before, that was something that you could do. I'd like to save a bunch of money or whatever. I know how much I spend on beer or whatever. So that's great.
That's a very common trait that happens when we sell our idea to someone enough. Even the person that tried to get us to drink will happens all the time for my clients. They'll end up coming to us privately and thinking, hey, so how did you do that whole drink less thing?
Definitely. So, it's obvious that you've been around the block and finding out, what's going on with cutting back and drinking less and taking a break from alcohol. So let's switch gears a little bit and move into the present, where our audience of social drinkers want to know about, what's the latest developments and ideas in this area. I found out about Sobertober, Sober for October, kind of through the ether. Is there anything else going on?
Yeah, well, it's interesting when you say that. Yeah, because we've got Sobertober. We've also got here in Australia, I don't know if you have it as well, Dry July. So that's remaining dry. And it's interesting because we're slowly getting these little pushes for, growth and expansion. Yet when it comes to Sobertober or Dry July, it makes it easier for everyone because someone apparently gave us permission. What that means is when we go into Sobertober and people are drinking, if we say, oh, we're doing Sobertober, because that's now society's normality, then it's okay. So it's really about finding, as I said, tribes and groups that are providing or creating movements to give ourselves permission to drink less at the end of the day, whenever we choose. That's it, whenever we choose. So I think that's really important. I think there is a shift, a slow one, but I really do think there is a shift that's happening when it comes to alcohol. And I like to look at it, it seems quite big picture, which is far away, but I like to look at it as in when we look at cigarettes. Cigarettes used to be seen as the fad. They were the thing. All the best actors were smoking them throughout movies and were paid to smoke cigarettes throughout movies. It was almost the when you grow up, you smoke. And, we've had a profound shift in that area when it comes to, especially here in Australia, when it comes to packaging cigarettes, and they've all got, caution on them, and it's, they're not advertised anymore. There's this big shift that almost as you grow up, you look at non-smokers and you think, oh, that's the normal way to live. And you look at smoking, you think, okay, and I can do that as well. Whereas at the moment with alcohol, it's very much you look at alcohol and you think, oh, that's the normal way to live. And you look at people that don't drink and you think, oh, and that's kind of like a bit of a different thing. And I would love to see one day, maybe my grandchildren or great-grandchildren one day, if I hopefully have them, maybe they'll see a world where you grow up and you realize that there's been a fundamental shift and that society realizes that I certainly believe alcohol is the biggest and most damaging drug in the world, and maybe make a bit of a shift that kind of follows the approach that we had to cigarettes. And maybe one day we'll grow up and think, oh, living a soberish, or at least a relationship with alcohol, it's very minimal, is the way to live. And almost drinking in excess would be seen as rebellion.
Yeah. That daily drinking would kind of like fall out of fashion. It would be reserved for more, enjoying it on a special occasion instead of being kind of ubiquitous across like all meals, all in between meals, all occasions, all environments.
How did we get here? I'm not sure, but I hear what you mean, and that's usually the outcome that my clients are after. Like a lot of my clients work with me because I'm not a big advocate for abstinence. So I'm not a big advocate for don't ever drink again. My clients often work with me because they realize I used to drink a lot. Now I drink very little. As you said, maybe saving it for a toast at a wedding or a celebration, almost looking at alcohol like it's a delicate kind of, thing to be experienced and respected. Now, that certainly isn't the case in the general population. It's a generalization here, but general society, it's very much the norm. As you said, it's, well, if I'm having dinner, I have red wine, or if I have seafood, it goes with white wine, or if it's a Sunday, it's beer day.
Right.
They're making it tough for us.
Yeah, for sure. So we talked about a little bit about the unwanted effect on your social life. And for me, to a certain extent, it was easier to be like 100%. I have this time frame and no alcohol, so no decisions had to be made. And for me, that was easier than making decisions on a, moment by moment basis. Do I want a drink? Do I want another drink? Is today going to, am I going to have any drinks today at all? Or the constant decision making is exhausting. And after you've had even one alcoholic drink, your decision making ability goes out the window anyway. So your intentions might be for nothing after, even having one drink. So I found that it was easier to be like 100% either on, whatever my little challenge was. Other people aren't going to want to do that. Some people might find that it's difficult to decline, that it's so ingrained that they're going to be perceived as a stick in the mud, like you said. What should they do instead to alleviate that kind of scrutiny? Do you advise having mocktails or some other thing so people don't notice you're not holding a drink, or other strategies?
So there are a lot of little strategies that we can do to make things more comfortable for us. The way I work, which is very different to, I'm not a therapist, and I believe traditional therapy is a little bit more along the lines of, that alcohol is the problem. here's the thing. If we try to change our relationship with alcohol by being comfortable, it very rarely works, because to change our relationship with alcohol, to learn to drink less, means to do something outside of our comfort zone, which means we have to become uncomfortable. In fact, if we're not uncomfortable in any situation, then we're actually not growing. So sobriety periods like 3 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, they're not about remaining sober the whole time. They're about becoming uncomfortable, because look, I believe that every time that you become uncomfortable, you grow, which is what you're after anyway. So for someone that wants to lower their intake but wants to do it comfortably, you still want to look at it like you would a sobriety period. So as an example, if someone did a 3-month sobriety stint, and as you said, they made a decision, which is important because I think a lot of stress comes from indecision, from not making a decision. So if you're not going to do a 3-month sobriety stint, then the best way to look at it is to have a really clear standard and expectation of yourself, such as if you drank 5 drinks every time, then you'd say you're going to have 3 drinks every time. We want to have a really specific and measurable goal. The biggest time that we go back on ourselves or fall down is when we don't have a plan. Any of my clients that ever end up saying, oh, I had a big night, or I did this, anything that goes against what they said they want, was because, and they literally all the time say, oh, Tom, I wasn't really thinking about it. And what happens is we get comfortable and we get back in the scene and we say, no, I'll just have a mocktail. And then someone says something that's a little uncomfortable. And then we think, well, we never really said we weren't drinking. Okay, I'll just have 1 and then 2 and then 3. So having a really clear plan in place. For some of my clients, it's not sobriety for 90 days. Sometimes they do the 90-day challenge and they restrict themselves that they only drink Friday, Saturday night. For some clients, they do the 90-day challenge and they never have more than 3 glasses of wine in one sitting. So it's about just, as I said, it's probably becoming clear now, it's not about sobriety. That's not the goal. The goal is for internal growth and becoming really confident and comfortable with making decisions no matter who you're with. However, in saying that, if it helps to order non-alcoholic beverages in public scenes, if you just don't really want to have to deal with the drama of people talking in your ear about what you're doing, then yeah, mocktails are a fantastic thing. There's a few non-alcoholic beers out there. There's a couple of non-alcoholic wines out there that you can get. I personally, was a big fan of ordering soda water with lime, and people just suspect that I was drinking vodka and soda. So yeah, there's a lot of stealthy ways that you can get around it there, but I really do believe that for your personal growth, going into it with your truth and your honesty will put you in the best position for long term.
Yeah, amazing. And I can imagine that developing that kind of like internal consistency and making decisions and practicing that for 30 days or 90 days, I'm sure that has a spillover and confidence in making decisions in other areas of your life.
That's exactly right. The key to, I was thinking about this yesterday, Heather. I was really excited to do this with you. And I was thinking about, well, what's the behavioral pattern that you and I or the audience are looking for a shift in? Now, a lot of us think that it's drinking less. It's actually not. The deepest level of behavior that you're looking to develop in is by upping one of your standards. Now, a standard is a daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly ritual that you stick to, and it gives you results. In this case, we want great results. So the standard and the ritual is learning how to stick to your commitments. And that's the thing. If we don't make commitments, then how are we going to stick to them? If we make a commitment of sobriety and we don't do it, alcohol is not the problem. It's that we're trying to learn to stick to what we say we're going to. And that's one of the biggest traits I've learned and developed over the last 5 years, and has created shifts in all areas of my life. I'll give you an example of what you just shared. I love chocolate. I'm a very big fan of chocolate. Yet last month, my wife, Jamie Lee, she said to me, Tom, why don't we do a month of no chocolate? And I thought, wow, I haven't done the no chocolate thing before. And, I'm thinking that'll be really hard. And I realized that we went 30 days without even touching a block of chocolate. And I believe that's because, we're learning these traits of sticking to your commitments. So as you said, whether it's not eating something else, whether it's going to the gym in the morning, whether it's, assessing your finances every Thursday or Friday, whatever it is, it creates massive ripple effects.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I like how it also kind of throws a wrench into routines and habits. When you make a commitment and you're upping your standards, you kind of have to make a shift. And what I was going to ask you, what can people do to blow off stress if they're not using alcohol, or if they're dealing with their feelings, and that was their go-to routine? What other kinds of ways can they deal with these feelings and physical stress?
Okay, so if we're someone who's used alcohol to help with stress, we just want to ask ourselves the question of, when I drink due to stress, what do I think I'm getting from it? So when I drink due to stress, what do I think I'm getting from it? And usually the answer is along the lines of relaxation, calm, grounded, switch off, de-stress. These are kind of usually quite the common answers when it comes to stress. So we write those answers down: switch off, de-stress, calm, relaxation, sleep, whatever it might be. We write those answers down. Then it's very logical here. It's great. We ask ourselves, what are some other ways, some fundamental ways that I can resourcefully give myself that outcome? Because what we realize is that drinking due to stress does not do anything positive for stress. It suppresses it. So, and this is going to be going on for most people, you're not meant to know this unless you study psychology or human behavior. When we drink due to stress, we don't help stress, we just suppress it. But a lot of individuals think alcohol solves my stress problem. It doesn't, it just suppresses it in the moment. But when you have your list of what you get out of it, then you can ask yourself, well, what are some other ways to meet these needs? What are some other ways to remain grounded, to calm, to blow off some steam? And very quickly, one of the most common answers is quite often individuals will start getting into physical training and exercise. When it comes to the mindset, individuals might get into mindset, yoga. I know personally for me that I'm just going to be really honest because I promised I would be. If I've ever had a really stressful week and I'm feeling a lot of, just stress in any kind, and my mind starts to do that old Tom thinking of, why don't you just go and have a few beers? Because it'll take 15 minutes and you won't feel stressed. But I know just to take a breath and ask myself, what's my body looking for? And my body's actually looking for safety, for comfort, and it's looking for self-care. It's looking for nurture. But I did, as you're aware, 7 years of nurturing the body through alcohol, which wasn't nurturing. So now I'll take myself off for a spa or a jacuzzi and literally sit in there for 30 or 40 minutes and read a book. The interesting thing is, not only is the stress looked after in the moment, but the next morning I wake up, it's gone because I've actually looked after that stress. So those are some examples of how to find, what really does it for you. And those resourceful ways, anything that's not putting toxins into your body or, unethically changing your mindset and the way that your brain is programmed and thinks is going to be beneficial for you. Going for a walk, going for a jog, having a conversation with someone without alcohol.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great exercise, and it's very simple. Anyone can implement.
Yeah.
So we've kind of been talking about the right mindset for social drinkers when it comes to getting started and cutting back. I usually approach alcohol, being a nutrition coach, from some of the bad things that alcohol does to your body, as ethanol is a toxin, and how to, the benefits of it are avoiding those bad things. You have a little bit different of an approach in that you kind of focus on the bright spots and you don't worry about the calories and the alcohol, damage to your liver and, increased incidence of heart disease and things of that nature. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you do focus on to motivate people?
Yeah, so look, we either move and grow, or let's just say move in life for one of two reasons: to avoid pain or to gain pleasure. Now, the majority of people, generalization, but the majority of us have a moving away from pain strategy, which means I'll wait for alcohol to cause enough pain for me, such as a really bad hangover as an example, to then make a decision. Now, that works in the moment because we feel emotional pain, or we hear a statistic like, over drinking might cause heart disease or whatever it might be, and we experience pain and we think, we feel the emotion, so we make a decision to move. Yet one day, 3 weeks or 6 months go by, that emotion's not there anymore. And what happens is we sit still and we do the old behavioral pattern again until the pain comes back. So I really believe that what you focus on is what you get. And I very rarely talk about stats and negative effects of alcohol because if I focus on alcohol, we're just going to get more drinking and more alcohol. But when we focus on the positives and moving forward, we can build a moving towards pleasure strategy. And that
Right.
is, yeah, that's along the lines of looking after your health and fitness. How much money do you want to save? And moving towards pleasure enables you to get in front of what's called change. You get in front of change. And then you start building so much motivation for what you actually want in life that you start seeing more of what you want in life. And this is why a lot of individuals that do my 90-day sobriety challenge end up saying, you know what, I think I might just keep going. Or they say, I think I just really love drinking less. I'm going to keep going on the journey. Whereas if their thinking was ever, I only did the challenge because I wanted to avoid that pain over there, then the same thinking will happen. And if it's not in alcohol, it'll be a different area of their life. They'll go along living their life until pain stacks up before they move again. So I really want to develop that moving towards strategy. And it's really important to focus on what you want in life, because what you focus on is what you get. And a really specific example that I know a lot of people experience, I could never seem to reduce my alcohol intake when the thoughts in my head from Monday to Wednesday were, you're not going to have a drink on Friday. You're not going to drink Friday. You're not going to drink Friday. Because all I told myself was I was not going to drink, but what you focus on is what you get. So even telling myself I wasn't going to drink was actually going to lead me to drinking anyway.
Right, it brings drinking into your mind.
That's exactly right. I was just constantly focused on it. It became overwhelming and daunting and annoying. I remember speaking to my coach and thinking, I'm just frustrated at this whole process. Like, I was just thinking, like, what am I even doing this for? When I made the shift to, I've got gym and sauna Friday night. I've got massage and therapy Saturday morning. I've got swim 6 a.m. Sunday. When I started to focus on all those things, very quickly I started to fill my life with those things. We really believe, my philosophy is that when you focus on your possibilities and you focus on your goals, your problems get looked after. That's it. When you focus on your possibilities, your problems get looked after. It's a very, I'm implementing into society at the moment, doing my best to implement a non-shameful way of reducing your intake. That's what I'm doing my absolute best to do.
That is so powerful. I really like the strategy. Not only are you displacing the activities that involve drinking, but you're displacing the thought processes that made you think about drinking in the first place. So I'm sure, that's super powerful in resetting like your whole perspective on alcohol.
Yeah. These things that we're talking about are the fundamental shifts. Sometimes we get caught up thinking, I really need to work with someone every day, or I need to do, this rehabilitation center, or I need to, just join this. These shifts that we're talking about, if we can practice them, if we can write them down and practice them, they'll make all the difference.
Amazing. So you've shared a few tips and strategies. Is there any one particular case study or example you'd like to share that really sums up what we've been talking about here?
Yes, there is a specific example. The strategies that we've been sharing here are the strategies that I use every day with my clients. Obviously, we can go into more depth when I'm working one-on-one with clients, but these are the fundamentals that all of them must learn and hear about before, as we even start working together. Now, these strategies that we've spoken about have enabled someone who is quite a high-level alcoholic to quit within 1 hour and do 90 days of never having a drink. These are the strategies that have helped someone who would drink, I think it was 22, 23 bottles of wine a week, and to reduce that down to 2 bottles of wine a week within 7 weeks. And I'm giving you the over-exaggerated, they're real-life examples, but to the other end of the spectrum, because if that happens for them, how is it going to positively impact us if we're a social drinker and just want to reduce our intake a little bit? I don't know if I could give you any better examples.
That is amazing. So do you have any final thoughts about how to motivate social drinkers to get started with drinking less or taking their efforts to the next level?
Yeah, the first and foremost is give yourself permission. The reason why Dry July, Sober October work for a lot of people when it comes to socially drinking less is because apparently someone gave us permission. Who was that? Society. So what happens is we do give ourselves permission, but usually when a leader or someone else does it first. And I want everyone that's watching or to reading, if they really want to live their dream and back themselves and live with choice, to give themselves permission today to become an individual and to even start your own movement and your tribe. When I say that, it might just be for you or your kids or your partner or your friend that will turn to you in 4 weeks and say, you used to drink 3 glasses, now you need to drink half a glass or 1 glass, whatever it might be. So the first one's give yourself permission. The second one is find a tribe. You don't need to pay thousands of dollars. I mean, find a tribe on social media. Find one more friend who likes to do what you're doing and have that accountability. And most importantly, first and foremost, is invest either the time, the money, and the energy, or all three of them to solving this problem for yourself. If we can solve the problem on how to drink less, you will be amazed at the money you save and can spend on your family, friends, or even yourself. You'll be amazed at the energy that you have and the level of emotional intelligence you have. From that, you'll be amazed at how much more you can handle in stressful, pressure situations, in work, in career, family, home life, drama. You become a very powerful person that can handle quite a lot. So those are the 3 things that I would say that really, first and foremost, you want to look after.
Oh, thank you so much. We've been talking with Tom Cartwright. Thanks for sharing your expertise and experience so graciously. I'm sure all the social drinkers in our audience learned a lot about getting started with taking a break from alcohol and how they can apply it to their own situations now that you've laid it out so clearly. And thank you all social drinkers in our audience for joining us for this amazing presentation about the tips, tricks, and tools of taking a break from alcohol that can help you massively improve your results. Tom, can you tell us a little bit more about Cartwright Coaching and your Facebook community, Drink Less, Feel Fresh?
Yeah, certainly. As I said, through the last 4 years of doing what I'm doing, I started off as a bit of a generalist coach, helping a lot of people with different areas. But due to my story and who I am as a person, I constantly seem to attract a lot of individuals that, whether they're in addiction or usually quite often not, they're just very similar to myself, or they're just drinking a little bit too much and they're saying how to drink less. So we're actually about to launch a company called Drink Less, Feel Fresh, which is going to be solely designed at running sobriety challenges. As I said, it's the non-shame way, non-shaming a way to reduce your intake, and I think it's how it should be. For those of you that are listening, I get really excited at this part of the conversation, not because I'm talking to people or thinking someone has a problem with alcohol. It's because I'm speaking to people who want more from themselves, and I reckon they should be rewarded. I reckon you should be championed. I reckon you should be feeling so goddamn positive about drinking less, and that's exactly how it should be. So for anybody that wants anything more, head to cartwrightcoaching.com. Otherwise, feel free to add me on Facebook, either personally, which is Tom Cartwright, or join our open Facebook group called Drink Less, Feel Fresh. And I share tips, tricks, hacks on how to drink less there. And I just really want to thank you, Heather, and everyone that's listening to give me the opportunity. I'm wishing you all the best to a big finish to 2018.
Thank you so much. Once again, I'm Heather Lynn Darby, and thanks for joining us on Excellent Conversations, sponsored by Excellent Nutrition and Fitness. Visit my website, heatherlyndarby.com, where you can access free resources on nutrition and fitness for busy professionals. Join us in continuing this conversation in my open Facebook community, Excellent Vitality Experiment, where we're exploring how to reset our relationship with alcohol while still relieving stress. Thanks, and have a great day.